Grey Zone Warfare is absolutely everywhere at the moment, and I had the privilege of playing it for the last 7 days so I could bring you an actual honest review of the game. I've been following this for a long time now. Trigger warning, I'll probably get a bit of flack for this, but as I feel, it has to be said. So many content creators do their reviews without absolutely any insight into where the game is heading. Initially, I had 3 big content creators that I was going to flame, like One Peg and actually my favorite creator, Big Fry, but they all said the same stuff, so I'll just use Moy Dog for example. Sorry mate, let's take a look at some of these big time creators and what they're saying.
The quests themselves are absolutely exhausting. The majority of quests are more or less fetch quests. You have to go into town, find something, and then bring it back. This isn't inherently bad, but when you have to go to the same locations over and over again, it just wears on the players. There is very little differentiation between the actual quest gameplay loop. You go on a little bird, you take off at an LZ, you fight through the city, you get the item, you come back, and after that, the vendor says, great, now do it again, only this time go to the building right next to it.
Like the devs have said, the starter quests are all around the same village to start, so you get acclimatized to the game with lower level AI and less chance of PvP. Within the first day of me playing, we were heading north near other factions areas to do tasks from eliminating high value targets to collecting blood samples off things. So I don't know what Moy Dog is smoking on that.
Really never felt like I had any meaningful weapon unlocks, character progressions, or any good rewards for the investment that I just did.
The armor upgrades from Handshake at level 2, the medical equipment including stims from Lab Rat, and the Mark 18 from Gunny with M855 rounds at level 2. And this is pre-early access, where they have stated that there won't be a ton of stuff, which is still a shit ton more than I thought there would be.
We booked it back to the Little Bird, and I ultimately was able to kill one. But after that, I was immediately team killed by my buddy. Yes, maybe he should have had some situational awareness of where I was coming from, and we had visually seen enemies and so on. But the point of the matter is, Grey Zone Warfare has no positive ID in the game. You can't...
Not maybe. He should have had situational awareness. But this shit happens though. This one time, I got team killed in Tarkov. Like, every fucking time. It's a skill issue. Like, you mean we should identify your target before sending rounds down range? Like real life ROE stuff? Damn.
You are going to look like everyone else. The starting weapons are all the same too. Everything is the same. The gear, the outfit, the player models. There's no difference. And so in a game where you're supposed to potentially run into other players at times, you have to instead press tab, verify that that enemy is an enemy and not a blue dot, and then engage.
I mean, I don't know how you're surprised at this when they have been saying for months at the start everyone will have the same gear. Then they will implement differences once they attack the more important parts of the game.
And then the most frustrating thing is the weapon animation or eating animation or health animation locks. Once you start that animation, you cannot double tap left click like you can in Tarkov to cancel it, and instead you are locked into it. So after I got shot, I was trying to use a painkiller. The moment I started the painkiller animation, an AI came up right from behind me and put me into a coma. That was super frustrating. It kind of ruined the moment.
Huh? You must have a different game, bro. Now let's break down the game properly and stop comparing it to where it should be further down the line. Is it worth your time now? So guys, strap in and let's look at everything from its gameplay loop to its graphics and mechanics. I've dedicated a solid week and over 15 hours of gameplay analyzing, strategizing, and surviving to give you the most in-depth look at what this game has to offer. You'll get more than just gameplay, you'll get a better understanding of where the game is heading and whether it's worth it right now. First up, let's talk about visuals. They are something else, and this is an area that everyone is agreeing on. The first time I loaded up the game, I was absolutely floored. The level of detail Unreal Engine 5 offers is insane. From the light filtering through the jungle canopy to the moss-covered cliffs, the visual fidelity for Lao is second to none. But this isn't just about looks. These graphics make each encounter feel real, pulling you right into the game's world. Now, let's switch gears to audio, because not everything was music to my ears. The gunshots just didn't pack the oomph you'd expect. It felt a little underwhelming. And apologies in advance, because you'll hear this a lot. As an early access, it was still more than adequate. But after that, I threw a grenade and I was relieved at a small explosion, reminding me that grenades aren't this big cinematic bang. They're a little flash and puff of smoke with a nice feel of percussion. So Grey Zone Warfare nailed that part. The contrast in audio quality shows that while the game nails it with environmental sounds and explosions, the gunfire needs a little tune-up sometime in the future. Now, getting into the thick of it, let's dive into gameplay mechanics and the survival elements. My first day or so were all about quests in the close starting village, which were great for getting the feel of the game. As we started to get that feel, the quests begin to take you outside the wire and closer to the enemy factions. The range of quests were awesome. Despite what some people say, from assassinations, intel collection, exploring tasks, collecting blood samples, for a game this early in development, they have so much more than any other game in early access. Maybe apart from Once Human, that game has a shit ton of content. The mechanics here are tight. Aiming feels responsive and the recoil is just right. But they've got to tweak the lean feature so it feels a bit more leany. But more importantly, take the shooting away when you jump. If anything will break immersion, it will be bunny hopping while you're shooting. Now, let's dive into the medical system, something I was personally stoked about. Being a paramedic, I appreciated the complexity of treating injuries in game. It's detailed and realistic, allowing for different treatments based on the injury. However, navigating this system felt a little clunky and unintuitive at times, pulling me out of the experience. This system has massive potential, but it needs refining. A more intuitive interface could make it a standout feature. Bring in something like Cat Medical from Arma 3, or at least bring up a body visual when you're treating your squad mate, because I can't get around the contextual menu. I want to see his whole body and where he's injured. Now, probably my main gripe with the game as it stands is looting. Initially, looting felt unrewarding, just basic supplies that didn't feel worth the risk. But as I unlocked new areas like the bunker and heading up north, the loot improved significantly. But still, the game needs to balance the loot distribution better from the start. Giving players meaningful rewards early on can motivate them to take risks and fully engage with the game and draw them into that grind. The survival elements I enjoyed. There were 3 of us who were ex-army, and before we unlocked a lot of LZs, we wanted to go for a big stomp up north. We packed enough food and water for the trip and went on our big hike. Just exploring this map was captivating. I was absolutely loving it. But this leads me to one thing that I feel needs to be addressed ASAP: the lack of AI outside of key points. Our first big stomp was amazing because we're all taking in the graphics. However, the replayability will quickly fade if there's no threat while moving between areas. I wanted to see enemy randomly patrolling around living their life. Now, months ago, Mara has said that this is the goal. I just think it needs to happen sooner rather than later, or people will get bored quickly. Now, some of the concerning aspects the community is worried about, and let's start with the big one: extraction camping. I completely agree this will need to be addressed, and some cool suggestions my community gave is the ability to cancel landing. So imagine this: you're just coming in the LZ and the AI pilot hits you on the radio with "enemy sighted in the AO," then gives you the option to cancel landing. I think this will be both practical and immersive. Next is the lack of PvP, and this will be a long one. There is PvP, and I had lots of it for a game focused on PvE, and in a quiet oceanic server. The end. All in all, this game was an absolute blast, and I had the most fun gaming that I've had in a long time. The state the game is in after a year in development is absolutely crazy, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Mark my words, this game will become the best game out for many years to come. As this game develops, I'll be there the whole time bringing you the honest reviews and gameplay progression. If you love this deep dive into Grey Zone Warfare, you'll definitely want to check out the tactical shooters that I've reviewed so far. I'll throw one up on the screen now. Chances are, if there's a tactical shooter out there, I've probably reviewed it. As always, I'm Timmy Tenders, stay tactical, and I'll see you in the next one.